So with this as well, you also have to manually let people into the room, right? So I will leave that to you, right? Make sure that everyone is coming in with
thinking of starting a business. You recently launched and now you're looking to strengthen your business and the foundation. Well, you are in the right place. We are the Entrepreneurship Hub of Trinidad and Tobago, or the EHub. Right. So if you haven't heard of us, the EHub is a NGO, it's a nonprofit NPO, right? It's a collaborative effort with the United States Embassy, which seeks to create an enabling environment for entrepreneurs in Trinidad and Tobago. The hub fosters entrepreneurial community through networking, training, knowledge sharing, and advocacy for business-friendly practices. So the goal is to promote employment, economic growth, and new opportunities. Notable programs include the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, which I'm a graduate of, great program, the Small Business Workshop Series, which is why you are here, and the annual Entrepreneurship Forum. So a key part of the hub's mission is helping entrepreneurs grow from micro to small. So what do I mean by that? We want to take your micro business, grow it to $1 million or more in revenue for the year. That is one of the key goals. But the goal is not just to start a business, but to build one that creates jobs, contributes to the economy, and generates long-term success. So today's session is designed to help you move further along your entrepreneurial journey by providing valuable knowledge, tools, and insights that you could apply to your business. And I'm saying this from experience because the Entrepreneurship Hub has helped me in so many ways over the years. When I discovered the hub, I felt like, yeah, this is a gold mine. So thank you guys for being here. The first timers, you are blessed, I'm telling you. So I hope that you leave this session feeling equipped, empowered, and ready to take your idea or your business to the next level, because that is what the hub has done for me over the years. Thanks. I want to introduce Mr. Shemeon Williams, who you've already spoken to, but formally introduce him, our host, our knowledge giver. Thank you, Shem. Welcome, everybody.
Ron, just before I start, I just wanted to say that this set of info here, I'm also an alum of this Young Leaders Americas Initiative, right? And they provide this set of information online, all right? And it's free, but of course, many good things people don't know about. So this series is an opportunity to share this knowledge base with you, and you ensure that you have access to it after, so you can go learn not just this on this set of information, but other things as well.
Developing the business model for your startup. There's going to be 3 learning objectives during this module. First, what is a business model? Second, what does scalability mean? And third, what is the essence of a great pitch? 15 years ago, investors expected startups to spend great amounts of time writing long business plans filled with forecasts that were unlikely to ever be true. Today, sophisticated investors expect startup founders to focus on developing a business model for their startup, ideally one that scales. A business model is the collection of assumptions that must be true in order for your startup to generate a consistent profit. These assumptions include a precise description of the customers you will engage, the problem you will solve for those customers, the features of the solution to that problem, the messages and channels you will use to connect to those customers, and the economics around what and how you will charge for your solution and what it will cost you to provide it. A scalable business model for your startup is one that not only enables the business to generate a profit, but one that is well suited to grow rapidly, and ideally become more profitable as the business becomes large. Rather than assuming that you have all the answers about your scalable business model from the start, you as a smart entrepreneur today begin with the idea that you have hypotheses that must be tested through actual interactions with customers. It doesn't matter what you think. It matters what you can validate through hard data derived from actual customer interactions. The Lean Startup methodology, popularized by Steve Blank and Eric Ries, is one important way of going through this continuous process of experimentation and business model development. A lean startup approach to building your business pairs an iterative, experimental approach to developing an in-depth understanding of your customers and their needs and wants with a fast, flexible approach to building your product. The idea is that you build as little of your product as possible, test it with real customers, then make quick tweaks and changes to the product, and repeat. To communicate your scalable business model to potential investors and other audiences, you should maintain an up-to-date pitch or story you tell about your business. The physical manifestation of your pitch is a deck, usually 10 to 12 slides and no more, and as visual as you can make it. More important than the physical deck, though, is really developing a great story to tell. After all, there's going to be a lot of moments when you have the opportunity to pitch someone but won't happen to have your deck handy. Every great story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. The beginning is about setting the scene and introducing compelling characters to whom your audience can relate. The middle is about explaining a challenge that your main character faces. The end is about how your character resolves this problem in a satisfying way. Your pitch should unfold the same way. You need to start by explaining to investors who the user of your solution is. The more vivid a picture you can paint, the better. You then need to explain the incredibly frustrating or expensive problem that your user faces. A combination of anecdotes or case studies to make the problem seem real, with data to explain the size of the problem is ideal. You need to end your pitch by showing how your solution solves this problem. And it's really important that you do this in the simplest terms possible. Finally, the epilogue to your story is explaining how you scale your business into a really big, interesting market.
What an informative video. Thank you so much. So Shem, could you tell us, do you think that this video has any value to entrepreneurs here in Trinidad? How could we benefit from this knowledge?
Definitely. I think there are two key elements that he focused on. which was that model or a lean canvas as I know it, right? So that lean canvas model, again, instead of having a big long business plan that takes way too long, way too many mistakes, and just like a big guesswork, right? That one pager has made a big difference in our trajectory in our business. And let's say I would have done reiterations, like I would like about 7 or 8 iterations of this lean canvas, and I could see the progress and understanding of the customer over time, and the recognition of what channels work and don't work. And it kind of forces us to stop and think, okay, is this path that I'm going on actually making sense? And it would have been unlikely that I actually would have actually taken it seriously if I was not part of that wildlife program that actually took us away from our businesses, right, for 6 weeks and had to focus on these elements. It gave you homework and had to do. So if there's one piece of advice I'd give all of the micro entrepreneurs here is to just make sure you start with that lean canvas. Think of it as direction, and each business needs direction. Secondly, that pitch is he said make sure you have a simple pitch, and that has been quite effective in my business path as well. And my pitch is simple. I'll show it to you, right? Well, it has developed over time, right? But I do video work, right, and photo work, and well, now is just Instagram. So it depends. Let's say I walk into a room, and let's say it's a wedding client, and I'll switch to my wedding page and say, "What are you?" And I say, "I'm a photographer." And that means anything. You can see the blank in the eyes. It doesn't connect, right? But if I say I'm a photographer and I create images like this and I begin to show them images, then they're like, "Oh, that wedding, that's so nice. Look at what I didn't know." And totally different response. If it's a corporate client, I have a different Instagram page, and I'll say, okay, I'll ask them first, what are they about? And it's okay, so corporate person, and I'll switch my corporate page, and then I'll be like, oh yes, I'd give them the corporate side of my story. You know what? I'm from the corporate sector, and I worked there for 7 years, 7 months, 7 days, and then I quit to pursue photography. And now I create photography for the corporate sector like this. And I show them some of the work that I've done right then Instagram. So within less than 20 seconds, I'm able to convey my story and examples of my story such that they in their head could say, oh, I could see how this could work for me. And that is how I've been able to get clients quickly from a meeting.
Thanks for sharing that. One thing I've learned as well is creating a connection, an emotional connection. And I like that you said that because it's so important. A different group of people would respond differently. And that is something I also apply to my business. And that's really helped as well. So yeah, thank you.
Are there any questions in the chat or anything?
Not so far, but everyone, please feel free to leave your questions in the chat so we can address. We'll give everyone, right? I see one question in the chat from Devika Sami. Do you have a life coach example of how to pitch a business?
All right. So a life coach and then a coach to pitch. So there's a bit connected there, but kind of different, right? So I will have had a coach, and a coach is not a mentor, right? But I've had a coach, right? And I would say that they're wonderful to have, right? Make sure if you could get a coach, right? And a coach is someone who comes in and says, did you make up your bed? Why is your bed not made up? Make up your bed. And you say to yourself, I knew I was supposed to make up my bed. I don't know why I didn't do it. Thank you for telling me make up my bed. I'm going to make up my bed. And because you made up your bed, you have all the benefits of making up your bed, right? So just like in a business, there are things that you're supposed to do. You know you're supposed to do it, but somehow you're not doing it. A coach is that person with the belt coming and saying, do it, do it, do it, right? And success comes from doing it. Don't mistake it with a mentor, right? A mentor is someone who has been down the path that you want to do, but they generally don't necessarily have time to be coaching you every step of the way, right? So a mentor is different, right? And then an example of how to pitch a business is a little different. You could go on TEDx, you could go on um, the show Shark Tanks, right? And you could go have some persons actually help with pitches right here in this group, and they would teach you about pitching a business. Also, you could just go to pitch competitions, right? And then pitch competition, you go do the work, right? And then realize, wow, my pitch could be improved or get feedback from the judges. And that's how I would see you get better at pitching your business.
Okay, thank you, Sham. I don't see any other comments in the chat, so we can move on.
My name is Claude Granitsky, and this is Creating a Business Plan. In this lesson, you will learn the value in creating a business plan and identify the primary elements needed to make it successful. Writing a business plan is not complicated, but you have to understand the fundamentals. If you have a great idea for an innovative venture and want to start a business based on that idea, you will need to attract team members and secure capital. The best way to do this is with a solid business plan. To convince others to join you in this exciting adventure, you will have to pitch investors and funders. Before they put up any money, they will ask you many questions about your idea, and you will need the answers. The business plan will help you formulate the responses that will satisfy their questions. But even before you go out and pitch your idea, the business plan will help you work out the potential issues and come up with solutions. This is important, whether you're working alone or leading a team. So what are the primary elements of a business plan? In clear and concise language, your business plan should explain your idea as well as its market potential. It should list the problems that you expect to encounter and how you intend to solve them. It should detail the risks associated with your venture and how you intend to reduce those risks. Your business plan should always begin with the sales demand side. For example, if your idea is to sell a new type of battery for mobile phones, you'll need to make assumptions and determine how many batteries you think you can sell in a given market in the first year, and then in the second, third, and fourth year. By the fifth year, perhaps you will expand into new markets and begin selling different types of batteries and associated services. Before you can claim that, you will need to do some research and find out the size of the current market for mobile phone batteries. Are there any problems with the batteries currently being sold in the marketplace? If so, you need to list those problems and explain why your battery is better. Is it because your battery lasts longer, is cheaper, or is solar powered, for instance? In your business plan, you will also need to estimate how much your battery will cost to produce and how much you can sell it for. Your battery can be cheaper than existing batteries, or it can be more expensive if you're convinced that your battery is better than what's on the market. The business plan will help determine how much capital you need to raise in order to get started and grow your business in the first few years. Once you've explained the sales demand side, the business plan needs to also list the use of funds. This list should cover how much is needed for research, for salaries, manufacturing, marketing, distribution, and everything else you will need for the company to grow and become profitable. What makes a successful business plan? Business plans are incredibly useful because they allow you, your team members, and your investors to determine whether you're on the right track. If your market and pricing assumptions are valid, the business plan will help you affirm your business opportunity. The reason most successful entrepreneurs go through the process of business planning is because it allows them to step back and think through the important issues associated with an abstract or unproven idea. Having thought through these important issues, the entrepreneur is in a better position to persuade new team members, investors, and other stakeholders of the value of that idea. The best business plans demonstrate that the founding entrepreneur has a great idea, has identified an innovation, and has a passion for that new product or service. Because the plan forces the entrepreneur to put the business under scrutiny, investors will be reassured that the entrepreneur has done his or her homework, has assessed the risks, and laid down a sequence of decisions geared towards establishing a growing market share. Of course, entrepreneurs should know that things don't always go according to the business plan and that they should prepare for contingencies. By demonstrating potential demand and an ability to produce goods or deliver services at a profit, the budding entrepreneur will see the exercise of writing a business plan as a great way to show that there's a real opportunity and that he or she has a game plan to exploit it.
Wow, that was a lot of information. I hope you guys found value in it. So Shem, tell us, right? If you had to choose between a great business idea with no plan or average idea with a stronger business plan, which one you think would have a better chance of succeeding in Trinidad and Tobago, and why you think that?
Always planning always would succeed more than just idea. There are many, many lovely, wonderful ideas, but they do often come to fruition unless that planning and effort is done.
So what do you think is a section in a business plan that entrepreneurs usually overlook? Because for me, I used to overlook my secret sauce. You know, that one thing that each business has that another business doesn't, something that makes you unique, right? So for me, that's really important. But what do you think most businesses, especially young businesses, often don't pay attention to when they're building a business plan?
Sure. Well, so okay, I would sometimes get business plans from White Tap, right? And to Mark. And when we go through them, marketing. So in terms of, when I say marketing, understanding who their client is. In their business plan, they would see they want to sell, and let's use an example from the group. I see that Sherilyn wants to sell handmade jewelry, design and production, moed jewelry, right? So handmade jewelry. And if we ask Sherilyn, who do you want to sell this to? She's going to say, I want to sell this to everybody, right? And everybody is nobody in marketing language. You'd have to be very specific about I am for women. And for women, perhaps around this age, or even not just age in terms of demographic, but who want to feel this age. So you go into the psychographic. I want girls that like refined jewelry. So that now dictates the type of jewelry. Who want to spend this amount of money, right? So that now that dictates where persons like this with that money, where they tend to be, how much you hope to spend on it, where I definitely cannot sell it. So by narrowing down, very fine, narrowing down the customer, um, then we can start shaping our products for them. And I found many business plans miss that. Second, I would add the unique value proposition. You are making food, that's great, but what's special about your food? Why is your food any better than anyone else's food?
Yes, the secret sauce. You're so right. We actually have a question in the chat. Devika is saying, can you speak to a service business such as professional training and coaching? I get a lot of content on buy and sell business and not much on service-oriented business.
So the question is, can you speak to a service business
such as professional training and coaching. I get a lot of content on buy and sell business, but not much on service businesses. Good question.
Okay, so you trying to understand in the context of business plan. So is she asking, is a business plan will work for a service business, such as professional training and coaching?
Devika, do you want to unmute and explain your question?
Hi, thank you. Yes. So I am a mediator by profession. I do life coaching. I can do counseling. That's the type of business I want to have. I don't know how to pitch it because I have a lot of things that I can do, including training, by the way. Um, Change management, that kind of thing. Consultancy, training, actual mediation, actual life coaching. I do Herbalife stuff. I'm having difficulties getting my business off the ground, and I don't know why. I want to know how to pitch it, how to do a business plan, because when you get examples of business plans and pitching businesses, it's usually something that you buy and sell. Like even food is something that you sell like that. Um, yes, the service I want to sell, but it's not something that you can hold, that you can um like, how do you convince a person that this training is good for them when they don't even know what that training is going to be about? How does it benefit them? Now, I know how it could benefit them, but if I put it in my words, they wouldn't understand what I'm talking about. Like, can you give me an example of how you would pitch it, one, and how you would do the business plan so I could try to just start doing it for myself. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful question, Evika. Right? Lucky for you, I have a service business as well. So, and I would say this. Yeah, I'm gonna step back because in your question, you articulated one more than one issue. And it first gets off with you said that you could do many, many, many things. And that's the first one big challenge. When I started off in photography, and photography is like this wide thing. You can photograph anybody, maternity, events, corporates, weddings. And you can imagine if I went to someone and said, "Hey, I'm a photographer, I can photograph everything, da, 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 da." And they'll be like, "Oh, okay," but they can't process all of these wide things that I'm doing, and they're uncertain about what it is that they even need or what it is you could do, and it's just too vague, right? Opposed to, I would go to some wedding photographer, and it's pointless for me to pitch my business to anybody except when they're getting married, right? When they're engaged, because that is when they care for that particular problem. On top of that, let's say someone's getting married, and I go to them and say, "Hey, I'm a photographer. I do excellent maternity shoots and corporate shoots." They're like, "I don't care." Right? They only care about solving a pain point that they currently have. So you have to find a client where they have a pain point so strong that you could solve that pain point at that particular time. Right? So that is your job as the entrepreneur, finding that person. And when you reach them, you're not going to tell them, "Hey, I can do everything under the sun." You're going to go to them and say, "Oh, you have this very particular pain point," and you're going to describe it very narrowly focused exactly what the pain point they have. So let's say you are in mediation. So that means, okay, you and an employee fall out. This employee wants to take you to court, right? Hey, before you even go there, let's try mediation. Now the person is in that pain point, the process of needing this pain resolved, and you're talking directly to them. This is the exact type of solution I have for you. I've done this solution for other persons. Look at the other persons. They are saying, "Whoa, an employee was about to sue me for $20,000. I paid $5,000 for this service, and now me and the employee are best friends." So they now are looking on and saying, wow, I want to be like that solution that you are showcasing, right? And I would say, you are the path to that solution. I will pick you as that path to that solution. So that is the recapping. Finding the client, right, with the exact pain point that you have the solution to resolve, and only pitching the solution that you want to provide them, that you know will work for them. And you're pitching it in terms of a resolved status. It's easy in photographer land, right? When I show them images of pretty brides, because then they want to look like that pretty bride. And they see me as a solution to looking like that pretty bride, right? And I'm only going to pitch persons who want to get married because everyone else makes no sense. Okay?
Thank you for sharing that. We have a question from Marlon. Marlon, you can go ahead and unmute.
It's not necessarily a question, but based on your asking where supplements or questions overlooked in terms of the business plan. And from my experience, what I realized, as much as we talk, it's just around who are the customers. Most patients overlook who is really the competition. I'm saying this from a business consultant and business administration. I see that, like, for example, we talk about the food business. If you are doing catering, businesses are selling food, they're offering catering services, and you ask them, well, the competition, they might want to come and tell you about a store that have a fixed location where people come in to buy. Yes, they're selling food, but if you doing catering on a specific basis for a specific clientele, and I have an outlet where people that just come and shop. Yeah, we're selling food, but we might not entirely be in direct competition. You have to look at other persons now, also providing a catering service. Also, what type of market? Because you might have somebody catering for like big parties. You might be catering for a small corporate office. So yes, we may have the idea of selling food. Yes, we might be selling to a population. Where your competition lies, either it's a large scale competition, is it medium, is it small? How far you really expect to see your business so you would know who you're really competing. So for me, it's just that competition as well. If you identify where your competition is really and truly, you can properly market what you say. And that has been overlooked many times when I deal with certain business. I just wanted to share that.
I agree entirely that by understanding competition, and just I know he's breaking up a little bit, right? By understanding competition, it'll help you better identify where your ideal client or ideal customer actually lies. Because you may be able to say, okay, I cannot compete with this particular competitor because they have a value proposition or advantage that I cannot combat at this time. But if I don't compete with them, I could serve the market or this part of the market in a different and better way that they cannot compete with against you. So excellent. Excellent suggestion. Cool. Shereesa, you on mute?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. So let's go to the next section, identifying your markets. I know we have a question about that in the chat, so I hope this brings you some value. Oh.
My name is Claude Granitsky, and this is Identifying Your Markets. In this lesson, you will learn how to identify markets, how to research your idea, and how to determine your skill set. One of my professors gave me some great advice. He said, regardless of your business idea, the entrepreneur must ask him or herself, what is the single necessary and sufficient condition for a business? It is not a product, a technology, a customer need, a business plan, a vision, a strong team, investors, or competitive advantage. While all those things are important for a company to have, none of them is the right answer. The single necessary and sufficient condition for a business is a paying customer, the person who will pay your company money for its product or service. Knowing this, how does one identify a need and business opportunity? The business opportunity is always related to the needs of that paying customer. Begin by estimating how many paying customers there are in your chosen market. Digging deeper, find out where they are geographically and how much they would be willing to spend on the product or service you intend to sell. However, just because you have a paying customer does not mean you have a profitable business. In order to have a profitable business, the entrepreneur will need to gain enough paying customers, spending enough money within a relatively short period of time so that the business does not run out of capital. These calculations are difficult and demand quite a bit of research. How do you go about researching your idea then? The goal is to launch a business based on an innovative product or service where no market currently exists. If your business idea is to sell batteries for mobile phones to residents of your home city, you will need to do the research based on what we call market segmentation. You will have to find potential future paying customers and ask them questions about the batteries in their mobile phones. Take advantage of the internet if you have access, or make connections by talking to friends and family. Get on the phone, or in the car, or walk the streets to pursue information and potential opportunities. Even if other companies might already be selling batteries, the objective is to make sure no one is selling batteries like yours. If your battery is not better, not cheaper, doesn't last longer, or more advanced than existing batteries, then there is no reason to start a new business selling batteries. However, if your battery is better than existing batteries, provided you've done the research to identify your target customer in order to estimate how much money they would be willing to spend on a better battery, you will attract lots of new paying customers. You will then have a high market share that you can use as a basis for future expansion. How do you determine what fits your own skill set? You've done all the research based on an approach that we call market segmentation. Now you are in a position to know your future paying customers. You have an idea of what they like and dislike about their mobile phone batteries, where they live, where they shop, what jobs they have, and their monthly income. You even have a good idea of how much they might be willing to spend on better batteries for their mobile phones. But in order to sell lots of batteries to your newly identified target market, you will need to make sure that target market is consistent with your values, your passions, goals, and aspirations as an entrepreneur. The ambitious entrepreneur becomes obsessed with the wants and needs of the paying customer, but he or she must be smart about the role they want to play in the business. If the entrepreneur is interested in the technology of making better batteries and good at receiving feedback on how to improve the battery, then he or she should focus on product development and let other people on the team concentrate on sales or marketing. If, on the other hand, the entrepreneur is good at explaining the benefits of the new battery and why customers should pay for them, then they should be in sales or marketing. It takes time and patience to convince new paying customers to buy your product. You will succeed if you know your market and your own personal skills.
So now that we understand segmentation in theory, the real challenge for most entrepreneurs is deciding where to actually focus now, right? So for entrepreneurs that has limited resources, limited finances. How do we decide now what market segment is worth focusing on and which ones to ignore?
Sorry, could you repeat the last part of your question?
For a small business with limited resources, limited financing, how do we decide what market segment now is worth focusing on and which ones to ignore?
Yeah, so in his response, what I agreed with entirely, right, was based on is a cross section between who's willing to pay and what you're passionate about. When I started off, and I was doing stuff at many different segments of the industry, someone got asked me to do real estate videography, and I said, "Oh, that could be a cool idea. People trying to sell houses, you know." And then I got into it, only to realize that one, I don't really have that much money in it. The way how the market is set up for real estate agents is such that anybody can sell the house, and whoever sell the house will make the money. So if I make a really great video, so another real estate agent can go sell the house, and they'll get the money, and the real estate agent who hired me can't have the money to pay me, and it wasn't set up right. So I was like, okay, enough of that. I will not be doing real estate videos. But somebody else might be passionate about it and connect with the right real estate agency that might have the overhead or the budget to and the control of the house to actually afford for them to do videography for that house. So it really again a cross section between what you're passionate about, right? Almost and things you're passionate about are things that you're almost willing to do for free, and somebody who will pay you for it. And let's not forget Cheryl Ann's question about in how to do market research, right? Okay, and Cheryl Ann said, how do you do market research for handmade jewelry? All right, I want persons in the chat to respond to this. How would you go about doing market research for handmade jewelry? And you can write the answer in the chat. Is my internet slow? I'm not seeing any responses. Ah, Samsung SMA266M. Excellent. Go to pop-up events, right? Or a women's group.
Good morning.
Yes.
Excuse.
Morning.
I don't know if my account is off or something, but I'm unable to send any messages. Could you check to see if I am blocked in any way from sending messages? Thank you.
Sorry.
Hi,
Yes.
there's no block. You might need to exit and re-enter the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So Sharon is selling semi-precious jewelry. Etsy to see trends. And this is one of the things I like about the EHub is that it's just so many, the power is in the numbers. Because there's so many numbers of persons, people would actually have solutions and would have been through this path of pain that you're currently going through and may have a really good suggestion as well. Of course, other things where we do not go for market research is your family. They'll only tell you what you want to hear. Okay? All right, so basic type of jewelry, identify my main competitors, see what's trending and what consumers are buying, also check who is the target market and who is purchasing, what are, okay, and yes. Yeah, so I would say, for let's say handmade jewelry, easy place, all these pop-up markets, they sell them very, very, very often and a lot. And of course, as Christian said, what about your jewelry is making it any better, right? My wife buys jewelry and she buys it from a shop in West Mall because they make really cool boots, right? And what's really interesting was like some of the clients we provide, one came to our studio and that other girl had a similar bird earring. So it kind of showed that certain people have certain tastes, and you kind of have to dial in where these people live and exist and how they buy in order to tap into that market. Whereas a market who goes to the pop-up markets and buy should be maybe a different mindset, and you now have to say, okay, is this the client I'm seeking to serve? And what is the price point that they're willing to pay when they come into a pop-up market? And is this aligned with the type of jewelry that I want to make, right? Or if you want to make really expensive one-of-a-kind jewelries, then that might dictate what type of stones. It might not be semi-precious, it might just be like precious or diamonds or something. I know you can't sell that in a pop-up market. You know, have to go to a boutique in a high-scale mall. Your whole approach is different. Okay.
We have another question from Michelle. She says, I understand that marketing now and having a business in these modern days involve being a content creator because social media is person's main access point. Can you give some advice or help with growing social media presence?
Okay, I'll give some advice, yes, and I'll steal it back. If you go to our EHub page, and we actually have a session on social media, and we have a social media guru. You can go and look at that, and you get some specific advice to social media. But before social media, I'd say be careful in that thinking that marketing equals social media. That is not true. Not true at all. Marketing, one tool that is exceptionally well used for marketing is social media. But marketing doesn't mean content creation on social media. I have two businesses. Of the two businesses I have, one, both photography, videography, one deals with weddings, one deals with corporate clients. And it's two entirely different marketing strategies. For the weddings, sure, social media, all the way down, hands off, beyond social media, as much posts, and a whole very public part of that. On the corporate side, they can care. They can care about online. There's a much more nuanced approach, right? Where actually being loud on social media is taboo. So connecting with them is different. There is a way to market without wheeling social media that heavily, right? And also bear in mind that the point of out where many of us are in our businesses, that micro person, that your most valuable asset is time, right? And content creation takes a lot of time. As you begin to build your business and have support, right, then you can start wheeling it a little bit more, right? But let's say if I were a solopreneur, right, or even solopreneur and one other, the most valuable return on investment in your marketing efforts is going to be the power of referral. And that means that when you finally do all the work to get a paying client, that paying customer gets your service and says, wow, You are amazing. You are so amazing. I'm going to tell my good friend who's just like me to come and try you out because I know that person is going to love your product because I love your product. That is the most powerful form of marketing that you must take advantage of as a micro or solopreneur, right? If you don't take advantage of that, even if you did all the social media and you improve or increase the size of your funnel, when people finally reach all the way down to you and try your product, they're like, why is your food so salty? Ugh, I am never coming back by you. Neither am I going to tell all my friends to go back by you. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell them to actively avoid you. So there is a path to marketing that starts from making sure your referral game, the client's reviews are excellent. From that, it will naturally grow. Trust me, it will naturally grow. And then when you want to scale more, then you can add on social media.
Anybody have any questions? All right, so now that we've looked at how to understand and reach the market, once we've identified the demand and then validate the product, the next question becomes, how do we turn that now into a business that attracts investment? So let's move on to the next section.
My name is Claude Granitsky, and this is Pitching Your Business Ideas for Investment. In this lesson, we will explore how to identify potential business partners, look at the key elements of a pitch, craft and deliver a pitch, and follow up. If you are serious about starting a new venture, you must demonstrate to potential business partners and investors that you are passionate about the idea and truly believe that the business can succeed. You must be willing to work hard on weekends and late into the night. You will show your investors that you can do what it takes to make your business thrive, knowing that profitability and growth will one day justify all the efforts. Although many businesses fail within the first year, many others succeed because their founders have drive and a great idea. They were able to rally a winning team and investors. How does an entrepreneur identify potential business partners? It is very important to choose business partners according to both skill set and personality. Explore your own skill sets. If you are passionate about technology and see yourself as more of an introvert, then you should choose business partners who are more extroverted. Partners who are willing to go out, meet customers, and engage in the marketplace. If you are not very organized, then it is crucial to add a business partner who is very detail-oriented and good at handling complex tasks, whether dealing with lawyers, accountants, or suppliers. It is also good to have at least one founding team member who knows how to handle investors and answer difficult financial questions. Still, for the business partnership to work well, you need more than just a balance in skill sets. You need to be relatively certain that your personalities will not clash. Too many businesses fail because of ego or personality mismatches. How can you find a good match in your business partners? By first getting to know your potential partner well. Make sure you have clearly assigned roles and responsibilities from the start. Set up a system that allows you to resolve differences amicably without fights or unnecessary arguments. Once the business plan is written, how does the entrepreneur craft a pitch? The pitch should be short, explaining the idea, the potential, and team members' expertise. The key is to convey why this business is worth investing in. The pitch should explain why the target customer is willing to pay for the product or service. It should explain what kind of value you will create for that customer. Once that value proposition is framed into numbers and full market potential quantified, the founding team should make 5-year sales and expense projections and come to the required investment amount. The objective of the pitch is to get an investor to commit capital to the business. What are the key elements of a pitch? A sophisticated investor will listen to your pitch and assess whether you understand the market and competition. In your pitch, you should focus on a single initial market and grow from there. If after your short pitch, the investor is convinced that there is something there, then you have succeeded in grabbing their attention and they will want to investigate further and review your full business plan. How to best deliver the pitch? It's really about getting to know the audience you are pitching to. If you're meeting one investor, then you will need to research them and know what kinds of companies he or she has invested in the past, and if they were successful. If, however, you are pitching to an audience of 12 people, you must first understand the decision-making process and figure out which audience members will have the greatest impact on the actual investment decision. Grab their attention and get them excited by showing them why your idea has the potential to change the market and lead to a consistently profitable business. How to follow up after the pitch? Don't be afraid to email them relentlessly. Walk them through your business plan. Remember, investors like persistent entrepreneurs, and everything you say will need to be backed up by numbers, research, and a plan. Don't be boring, and don't allow the investors to be distracted. Your job is to help them imagine what your company could one day become with their funding.
Wow, that was great. So Shem, tell us, right? For micro entrepreneurs in Trinidad and Tobago, what should our focus be most on when we pitch in a business to increase chances of getting funding? What do most people overlook?
Oh, that's the key question. Pitching in Trinidad and Tobago. And I'll first preempt that question by pitching to whom? Right? Who do we have to pitch? So let's set the ecosystem. I'm going to paint the picture of how it is in Trinidad and Tobago and when entrepreneurs ought to be asking and who they have to ask. So there's actually a pathway of where to get money depending on the stage of your business. The very, very first path or way to get money is from yourself, right? Your savings, right? Your earnings. If you're working a job, putting that into the business as your first. If you don't put money into your business, no one else, why should anyone else, right? The next stage of investment is friends and family, right? So if you have a good daddy, right, they would put money, or if you have good family, for example, Answer McCall wrote a book, and in the very earlies, he got his initial investment from his uncle in Syria, right? And that is what helped him start his business, right? Or so that's friends and family, because they are a little bit more amicable to investing in you, particularly than rather anybody else, right? They think you come from good stock or good family genes, ready from them. So they would invest in your business. Beyond friends and family, now this is where it gets kind of tricky because now you're looking at investors, angel investors or actual investors. But none of those investors are going to invest in someone without a team, right? And a working team. And what I've found to be true for the EHub is that many of our persons are solopreneurs and micro entrepreneurs and have not attained that mass to say, okay, this is a team and a functional business to be worthy of the investment of an angel or proper investor. Even if you were at the stage to be capable of investment, we reside in Trinidad and Tobago. And that means that we have some limitations. So let's say if you were in America, an investor would invest money into your business, with the hopes that one day you would go public on the stock market and make money back from it. So they have a well-defined exit, right, at which they would be able to get their money back. They are not investing because they love you. That would be an angel or family and friends. They are investing because they want to make money back, right? But if your business is in Trinidad and Tobago, we rarely ever see businesses go on the public, on the market, or be sold easily. So now that's why we don't really have investors per se. No, we don't have investors in that way. Is it true to say that no one invests in business? No, that is not true. There are some opportunities for persons to invest in business. I would honestly say that I've never heard someone come to me and said, I've heard people come to me and say, I had the opportunity, I had a really good idea. I went on a show, a pitch show in Trinidad. Persons have offered me this amount of money for my business, and I think it's utter robbery. At that point in time, there's a clash of appreciation from the entrepreneur of how much their business is worth versus the investor of how much they are bringing to this person. Should this person come into their ecosystem, how much they're willing to give. So much so that it is rare to see investors. Now, where I have seen investors, they would see example like VP, they had investment from, forget the name of the group now, right? So they would have investors come in and you see a big explosion in terms of their growth, right? And any time of they getting that kind of investment, they'll be well beyond a micro and solopreneur phase, right? No one, I don't think you'd be successful at this phase getting the kind of large investment that you hope for. A lot of investments, a lot of funding, maybe you could get from grants, right? But I would say funding from grants typically go to NGOs, right? And how that, or through entities such as NEDCO. And how that operates, you'd see a development fund bank, such as the CDB or the IADB. They would have millions of dollars to invest in youth business, but they cannot outright come and give money to entrepreneurs that easily. They almost have to do it very legitimately. And then they would work through that means they work through the government entities like Kariri. And then you'd see Kariri executing developmental grants for the benefit of the entrepreneurs. And when they're executing these grants, they now have to do it in a way that's sustainable. So they may not be able to give you equipment, but they would have equipment on their compound that they can and they should and they have to make available for your use. And they may, since it has to be sustainable, they can't give it for free. They'll make you pay for the materials, right? So again, in Trinidad, you have to be this is the landscape we're in. So you have to take advantage of the resources, right, that are there and when they are there, right? So we would have seen recently another form of funding being banking, right? Republic Bank had a tranche of money to give out because they said, oh, we're going to invest in micro entrepreneurship. And this is like, that's about 3 years back. And they started giving out these loans pretty easily without the usual red tape. And what would happen was entrepreneurs began taking it up and they come to the forum and be like, guys, this was the best thing ever. It was amazing. It was so easy. I'm a I'm a doorstep, almost ready to kick out from my house, and then I got a call from Republic Bank, and they gave me this loan, and things are great. I'll be walking in the market, and so somebody come up and say, Shem, thank you for the forum because I went to hear about the grant, and I'll get this loan, I get money from Republic Bank, and I build a fence around my thing. And then later on, we'd hear, boy, this loan real hard to get, boy. I ain't getting through. I tried, nothing, nothing, nothing. And then I hear word enough people not paying for the loans, right? Not paying back for loans. So it's a kind of like potentially a cycle like that. This is from what I've observed from being in position of the hub, right? Where you might have an opportunity for things like that. Netco would have given out loans as well. And then after a while, you'd see a lot of persons defaulting on the loans, and then they're being a lot stricter in how they give out those loans, leading to a constraint in finances from such institutions, right? Cool. Did I miss anything there? Did I answer the question correctly?
You touched on everything. I just shared in the chat that I was a recipient of the NEDCO grant, and I actually heard about it from the hub. Even the Republic Bank unsecured loan, I plan to pursue that very soon as well. So thanks for sharing that information. It was really insightful. Now we want to open the floor. If you guys have any questions, feel free.
Wait, I have a question for you, Shereesa.
Oh,
As
yeah,
a
sure.
recipient of the NEDCO loan, what did they ask you for that you gave to them successfully that led to your success?
They wanted to see impact. How does your business help the community? So that was a big thing in the application, as well as a projection. Well, your finances. So your finances need to be intact. So I had my financials done. Well, I have it done every single year. Thanks to the hub again for pushing me to do that because I didn't do that initially. And another thing too is to make sure that you are paying your taxes. I know a lot of businesses, we skip on that, and that's really important. So to qualify for the NEDCO grant, you have to pay your taxes, whether it's limited liability, sole trader. Those are the important things. And they want to see how are you going to spend the money to improve your business. They don't want to see that you're going to build a house or you're going to build, a shed or, they want to see you're using the money to put it back into your business to generate more income to serve your purpose, basically. So when I applied, I put that I wanted more materials, more machinery. Now the NEDCO grant is $20,000. As a micro or small business, 20,000 doesn't really get you that far, but it gets your foot in the door to reach where you need to go. And from that, I was able to scale a good amount to expand into more stores and to be able to manufacture in a larger amount because we manufacture natural skin and hair care products. So that is where I was able to utilize the funds. Now, even for service business, because I know a lot of people want the grant for service business, and of course, that would be another for another way to apply. It would be different for me because we have a product-based business, but they still want to see impact. They want to see where you are going to use the funds and how is it going to benefit the economy, basically. I have a question here, Samsung SM. What type of business do you have? You said grant, not loan. Yes, the NEDCO grant was 20,000. I did speak to them last week, and they said it's on hold for a little while, but they do plan to resume hopefully by the end of the year. So once the applications are open, you guys are in the EHub chat. I'm sure we would share it in so you guys could apply. And if you need any help, guidance, I am available. You could reach out to me. I will put my information in the chat as well.
Thank you.
Okay, Samsung says, please talk about business tax as when people register, they don't tell you about it. That's so true. Yeah. I've been with the EHub some years now, and I actually got through with both the grant and the loan. Wow, that's amazing.
Yes. Taxes. When we have the forum, all entrepreneurs, that's the biggest, they love that session, taxes. And there's a whole session, right? I think we need to have a session for that. It's difficult to answer, but it's almost like it's like a whole process. It is, and it takes a bit, right? But it's something that we cannot do without as micro entrepreneurs, taxes, which is accounting, right? The system, as in your business model, making sure it's in the right direction, right? And if you're interested in grants, then it must be something that's impactful to the community, right? From the time you start doing these systems and processes and taxes in the right direction, we're off to the races, guys, right? Marlon, I see your hand up.
Yeah.
Yes, we was talking about pitching and taking the investors, and you was discussing the different part of financing. So I think it was clear that we should understand that the grant aspect, as the business, you're not obliged to pay back anything because it's a grant. Compared to a loan, you have an obligation to repay. So I think sometimes in the excitement of the persons accessing the financings, there was not clear of the obligations, and hence, who default and some of the financing arrangements being scrapped. Because in consulting with some of these businesses, I got to understand that they didn't know the difference between when a grant was given and a loan. So some persons, yeah, they went to it, but they did not know that they had an obligation when there's a loan compared to a grant, although some of these institutions will affording it. And lastly, I know you spoke about in angel investor, etc. And it's really difficult in Trinidad for persons to just invest in your business like that. You may really more have to resort to, the banks or credit unions or whatever the case might be. Compared to a normal person on the street seeing your lovely idea and say, here, what? I want to invest in your business. I wouldn't to put 20, 30, 40,000 unless, they may have to want some kind of partnership agreement or something of that sort rather than to just give that money. And you all are right, in order to do any of those things, people want to see the business in order in the aspect of, doing all the taxes, having all the documentation, and um, that part is often left out. We had the idea about selling the goods, but the whole administrative aspect of the business, like sometimes entrepreneurs just leave that out the window. They're just concerned about making the money, selling the product, or doing the service. And that is key if we especially want to get financing. Regardless of which measure, loan, investment, or grant, we have to have that aspect done.
Excellently put, man. Excellently put. To add on to what he said on to the end there, um, so you need all those things. You have a lot of great ideas, or you could get at the sales, but you need to have the financial backing. And what we see is that if we are, is a to me personally, I think it's a battle of time, right? When I look at the us micro entrepreneurs do have the time to do all of those things. And when you listen to the last speaker, he's talking about a team, right? And like when he went away and the wildlife program actually paired us with a scaling entrepreneur and had the opportunity to look inside of their businesses and see what was happening. From the very get-go, they teamed up, right? The guy was from Harvard. So it's almost like they were taught a little differently about how to start and get businesses off the ground. Whereas in Trinidad, I often see it's like, okay, some like individuals starting up, and then I hear a lot of difficulty with finding partnerships, right? But it cannot be done alone, right? We must either collaborate, right, team up, or pay for these services, right? In terms of that administration, accounting, taxes, and I mean, I've tried personally many different routes to get it done, and the best, I believe, is to actually pay for it and get it done, right? Because to not have it done means to not grow, not understand the business, not allow persons to be able to invest in the business or get a loan or a grant. Okay.
Does anybody have any other questions? Feel free, no question is too small. We are here to share as much info as we could. Okay, Devika says, I think it would be helpful to develop a pool of administrators to be developed for people to hire.
Yeah, yeah. One of the dreams that we had in the hub, right, was to create a pool of vendors like vetted by the hub. So let's say you have a list, all of us, and then you start rating all of the vendors. People start seeing, oh, this is a good person, this is a good person, right? Um, of course, the hub needs resources and volunteers to make that happen because the existing persons running the hub also have their business to run. So that's the true difficulty where the hub is at this time. But that's the hope, right? I see accountants are very expensive. Guys, let me tell you, you think accountants are expensive. You think. I mean, yes, they're expensive, but I've been through this pain deep. First business, right? Ooh, stalling on the accountant. And then at a tender to apply for. Huh. Can apply for tender because it's stuff not in order. So I couldn't progress. So then you say, you know what, I'm gonna get this right. This is during COVID. And it took me like a month, 2 months, just putting all the paperwork in order to get up to date. And after that, I say, I don't care again. I'm gonna make sure whatever business I'm in, this thing go and get in order. So then next business, I say one time, hey, accountant, where's your price? Take your money. Right. So he's charging $1,500 a month. And I was like, oof. Or if you come like at the end of the year, right, you might charge like 7,500 for the year. All right, cool. I'm paying that. I'm paying that. But you're always looking around for cheaper prices. But there's the kind of range you get $1,500, $2,500, or 7,500. But if you're lucky and you get an auntie to do it for you, by all means, right? Then you say, you know what? I go and look elsewhere, man. I go and look for some fancy institutions. So you went for these fancy bigger names, right? And then you paid more money, but less service, right? So you say, nah, man, something off. And man, this is us here, right? So I could call the names and call the amounts. So I like these people, eh? Oh God, my wife come and say, Shem, no, we can't call no names. Sorry. But the amounts. I could divulge the amounts. Ah, cool. So it's good to be a team, guys. Right. So then you pay like about 10,500 for the larger name. And actually, let me describe in the kind of big four accountant firms, and then have some local firms. The big four would be like these international firms that are here, Ernst and Young, right? The rest, I don't want to call it names, right? These big four, and then you have local, very big accounting firms, and then you have people that kind of come out of those firms and start their own practices, right? And then you have like accountant, somebody who just be accountant. And you would see pain points and benefits to each of them, starting from the bottom. Let's say if you go to like an individual, right? You're not so sure if they're doing the right thing, right? You're not sure. They could, but you're just not sure because they have no name or recommendation or no nothing going, right? And then if they're good, you see them getting very busy. So you're trying to get service from them, and service might be slow. And I'll say this is true from the individuals to the small firms. And this firm I work with is a husband and wife team, and they may have like bookkeepers that help them, right? And I pay like about $7,500 a year. And this is not bookkeeping. I actually have a bookkeeper to help. And bookkeeping meaning this person is keeping track of all my receipts and entering it into a system. I use QuickBooks to be able to have a system that has all of my information, my books, all right? So, and I pay that accountant. The accountant comes in and just says, no, they made a mistake here. This is supposed to be categorized there. Let me go and run all of this to tell you how much taxes to pay, right? Now, the local firms above there now, the bigger names, they do the same thing, but not as an intimate service. And since it's so busy, it was difficult. I found it difficult to actually get them to be responsive. It took long, it was stressful. I've admin, and she said no, she didn't like the rapport with them. So we said, okay, fine. We're going for the big name. Let me see what this is like. Yeah. For me, one person said to me once, I was in a forum, and he said he wanted a big name because when he went to the bank and he said, my books were done by Ernest and Young or Price Waterhouse, then the bank was like, oh, by all means, your books must be gold, right? I would invest in you. That was the benefit. What I found to be our what we got was that we paid it was 10,500, right? And all we got back from them was almost like a paper saying this is how much to pay in tax. And this is something I perhaps could have done for myself with QuickBooks, but we end up paying up 10,500. See, no kind of service that we got from any of the others. And when we asked, okay, wait, this is it? How and you figure out how much would have cost actually done the accounts as if you were getting the service from my the smaller firms. And they said that cost would have been $150,000. So I was like, oof, I'm going right back down to my guy who's on almost the accountant to be on the same level as your business, right? And the pricing is expensive, you think, right? But if you actually going into these large corporations and companies, they have teams of accountants. It is not something to be taken lightly, nor is it easy. It takes some effort and it takes cost, and you have to pay for it. Okay. I mean, that's just my experience. Someone else might have a better, easier, cheaper, effective solution. And we will have, ought to have a meeting, right? About figuring it out as a hub, the best way to approach this. Because just like the approved accountants, if you get an approved list of accountants, we'll be off to the races.
Any other questions, guys? I see a lot of suggestions in the group, so I'm going to make note of it and I'm going to give it to the hub after so we can work on some new ideas. Okay. I'm seeing Devika says startups can't afford expensive accounting. Yes, people can come together and pool resources for accounting. Yeah, that's a good point. Marlon, you have your hand raised. Feel free.
Yes, I just wanted person to understand that accounting is like a profession, you're certified, certificate, like lawyers. So it's not that we could just jump up and say we are accountants. Accountants is different from bookkeeping. So yes, somebody could put in your little entries and do this, but when come to providing these documents in a professional manner that is accepted not just for banks, but anywhere where the business accounts is required, there's a particular standard and procedure, which is called the accounting standards, and that is why we have to pay these people to do what they do, and that is why it costs so much. So yes, we may want it to be cheaper, but they spend a lot of money to do it, and that's what we're paying for. I think what we could try to do is, if you do know the individual accountants who probably as Mr. Shem would have identified, that probably doing it on an individual or small scale basis, they may be able to give you a cheaper price that may be affordable to a small business rather than if you outright go to the big firms. Because I could remember one of our first businesses, when we started and we had to do our accountant and I mean it was a mini grocery, small. And the owner's like, yeah, after every week she just doing bookkeeping services, it was like $1,000 for like about 2 hours. And I was like, much things had to sell to make all that money. You just come in for 2 hours and at the end of the year, it was like 10,000 plus we were paying. And I didn't understand that then, but now undergoing the program myself, I now see the cost. So, And one of the things that could assist is we as small business owners, if you really have your documents in order, your invoices, your receipts, that could reduce some of the costs that you'll have to pay. Normally, accountants and bookkeepers had to come and put all these things together for you. So, I mean, you're charging for time and, the documents are the process. So, some of the things to ease that burden is you yourself having those things in order. Just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Marlon.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of suggestions in the chat. I was just trying to read through everything. Shem, if anything stands out to you,
Okay.
I'm seeing global companies, PWC have programs where employees and volunteers volunteer their services.
Okay, we can look into that.
Yeah, for sure.
Nicole, if you have a contact, let us know. Yes, and I agree with our bookkeeping session, right? Yeah, we could call any BR and NS and ask them about it. Thank you. Thank you. And unfortunately, guys, accounting is just one hurdle to the next step, next stage of business.
Nicole says BIR offers training. Nicole, if you want to share some more information on that, feel free, because a lot of us don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I feel it, Jamila. As say that the challenge between formalized and unformalized, or difference in formalized and unformalized business, you always hear those terms, is that the accounting and the books and the banking just not in order, right? But to make that jump from unformalized to formalized, you have to do it. You have to pay for all these services, and therefore your prices must increase. But while doing that increase, you're still battling with the unformalized side of it that are less priced. They do have these overheads, so they can afford to charge less. But then they don't have the sustainability, the longevity, and the ability to gain that kind of funding. Right? But if it is that we as a hub collectively raise the standard of everyone to say, okay, we are going to do all of this properly, right? Then we could start to ensure that person's prices are realistic because they too are doing it sustainably, right? Okay, Shereesa, take it away.
All right, guys. So if nobody has any other questions, I don't know, Shem, if you have any final thoughts you'd like to share. I just want to say thank you so much. Even though I've been in business for 7 years, every time we have a meetup, we have a conversation, I always learn so much from you. To the point now I feel inspired to start my own formulation classes. And, I just want to thank the Hub for everything that it's done. Guys, the Hub is great. It's non-profit. You don't have to pay any fees. I saw someone was asking that. You don't have to pay for anything with the Hub. There's an annual entrepreneurship forum that I think would benefit a lot of people because the information here that you get is great, but the information you get from all these different minds is really beneficial. So I encourage you to look out for that. Join the chat. Shem, if you have anything to add.
Sure. One of the, as I think I mentioned before, about the persons who came in a little later, this information that you're looking at here, this Young Leaders of the Americas initiative, is made available courtesy the U.S. Department of State, made available to the wildliers that went on a program, but it's available there, it's free, right? So
I'm going to send the link for that.
Also, if you go to our website, the ehubtt.org, right? You're going to see those resources as well. It'll be there, as well as classes like this that we have recorded. And you'd be able to go, for example, the social media. You'd be able to see the social media, right? And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be able to see the information that we have. And you'd be course, go and look at it and see this similar discussion going on with someone who is way better than I am than on social media.
Guys, I sent the link for the YLI program in the chat. I just came back from that program and it's really amazing. Shem was part of the program. That's how I heard about it. And it's really beneficial, especially for entrepreneurs like us. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. The program reopens, I think, the end of the year for applications. It's really competitive, so bring your A game. But all the best.
And then lastly, guys, remember, as one of the benefits of this hub, right, is that one, the numbers, in that some of the challenges that you are going through, someone else would have gone through it and able to see, and not on like a so far removed level that they don't understand your pain, but from a very close, like having just gone through it, to say, okay, I did this to get a result, and you could too, right? Next is when, let's say, there are challenges that we all face. Individually, it's kind of impossible for any of us to sway the mind of a bank. But if we came together and said there are over 2,000 of us and we all face these issues, then we may have a lot better chance. And thirdly, there are these large internet organizations like CDB, IADB, they have incentives and they have directives and data that could be useful to us micro entrepreneurs to help us in the direction of our businesses. So you may be at a point wondering, okay, what kind of business should I start? Or is the business that I have, is it a good idea? Right? And or should I pivot it? How should I pivot it to make it even better? And we could help disseminate the information from them to see, all right, there is an initiative, a lot of effort in promoting women-led businesses, all right? How they are doing it is by directing resources through Global TT and the She Trades Hub initiative, for example, all right? Or creative industries is something that they're focused, and they have initiatives such as the Creative Industries and Innovations Fund. And they believe the creative industry will be effective for the Caribbean because of these hurdles that could overcome that these hurdles we face, such as shipping, right? And or difficulty in shipping. And the creative industries makes it easier to to ship things such as music and films without shipping it physically, and therefore they will be spending monies into these kind of businesses. So you now knowing that would say, all right, let me focus my business and slant it in a way that I can benefit from these grants. So it's not like you're building a business from the ground up and then say, okay, I'm ready for grants, going across to these institutions and realizing there's a gap in what you want to provide and what they're seeking to support, right? So that is the role of the hub as well. Okay.
All right. Any more questions? All right. Well, on behalf of today's session, I want to thank our speaker for all the knowledge that you've shared and for allowing us this space to be free and ask as many questions as we could. I always look forward to a session with the EHub. Very, very valuable information. So I really hope that this session helped you guys to build and to grow and to be inspired. So thank you all very much for being here. I put my information in the chat. Everybody's information is also in the hub. But if you have any questions about the grants or the programs that we spoke about, you could reach out personally. I'm always happy to share information. Oh, someone is asking if you could resend the WhatsApp group link. Vasha, if you want to share that back. I can't find it in the chat.
Quick question, would you be able to send the link for the online courses, the presentations from the Young Leaders of the Americas initiative that you showed?
Oh, I put it in the chat, but I will reshare it again. Hold on.
Thank you.
No problem. So this is the one that we did. I believe that when you do them, you get a certificate at the end of each course, and they're all free. Shem, if you want to chime in there, I really can't remember. But I believe so. You get a certificate at the end of each one.
That's correct. They just ask
Yes.
you a number of
Yes.
questions, which you all will answer brilliantly, and you'll get a certificate.
Any other questions, guys?
Thank you.
I have one question. I know I seen the platform as the EHub. I know you all say it's a non-profit organization. So is it that everything is virtual, or you all actually have a physical space and office and that stuff?
Mostly virtual. We do make use of the embassy's American Center when we need a physical space at times. So yeah.
Okay, I've just been interested in joining the organization, so I guess I'll probably look at your website and get the full details.
Thanks, and send us a message if you want to help serve in a better and a stronger way. For like example, how Shereesa has picked up the mantle and led this session. There are opportunities like that in terms of building out the hub and the services that we could provide.
Okay, could you just say that again from the beginning? You broke up a bit in transmission.
Oh, sure. And make sure and send us an email. We are always seeking volunteers to help provide better services at the hub. For example, how Shereesa has led this session. We could always build out the hub in better ways with the more persons we have volunteering as a part of just being members.
Okay, great, excellent. I won't mind doing something like that. Sure, thank you.
I also shared the hub's email in the chat if you guys want to reach out directly. So if that's it, thank you guys for being here. We really appreciate you. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.